All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's agent development training. I'm excited to kind of pivot back. We are in the middle of our summer speaker series. And so we are going to have, I think next week, I've got Joel Mulder lined up to chat with us. Joel has a great story to tell around his start with health markets and kind of where he's come from over the last couple of years. So I'm excited to interview him next week. So that'll be next Tuesday. But today we're pivoting away from that a little bit. Part of it is because I'm hosting a new agent training today. We've got a 3-day training. We actually have 10 individuals in the room here. So we've got a classroom full of individuals that are sitting in. And I had some things that I wanted to cover with them, but I've also had some things that have come up over the last couple of days and weeks that I just wanted to continue to share with you all and really push all of you, especially new agents, towards embracing live transfers. And so that's where the focus is going to be today. We're going to go through some stats, some data, some definitions, and then I want to walk through some of the different scripts that we've put together as well, and just kind of like walk you guys through so that you understand like the sequence and the logic behind why we're doing what we're doing. Before I get into that, though, I just had a couple of quick announcements. We've got several different technology rollouts that are happening here over the next month or so. The biggest one I would say is our Vanilla Soft rollout. And our territory training is going to be scheduled for August 18th and August 19th. And what we're actually going to do with that training is we're going to do a 2-hour training each of those mornings. So it's a Monday morning and a Tuesday morning. And it's kind of early for some of you, not for all of us, but it's going to run from 8 to 10 both of those mornings. And so I would encourage you to jump on both calls. I just came off a TVP call this morning and we were talking through the logistics of these. We've been running some pilot groups. They've actually got about 20 micro training videos that'll be on the resource center around that time, along with a lot of other information. But what we're going to do on the Monday session, the 2-hour Monday session, is everybody there. It's going to be more high level. It's going to be getting your system set up and getting you into the system, into the Vanilla Soft system. And then our hope is that you can use that system throughout the day on Monday and then come back on Tuesday morning. And Tuesday morning is going to be more like troubleshooting. What did you run into? Where did you run into an obstacle? How can we fix it? I'm in the process of scheduling a third session for Wednesday, probably later in the day. I'm kind of calling that our power user session. I'm going to open it up to everybody to listen in because I think the more training we can get on this, the better. But that power user session is really going to be for our tier 3 and tier 4 agents to ask a lot of questions because they have a lot more volume and a lot more data they're working with. And we just want to make sure that we're giving them, the venue to be able to ask questions and voice concerns as well. Everything that I'm hearing about VanillaSoft is that it is going to be very, very good, a significant enhancement over what we've had in the past. But anytime you change technology, it doesn't happen without some obstacles, some frustrations, and some heartache. And so I just want to set the stage. Expect some obstacles, some frustrations, and some heartache, right? It's not going to be perfect right out of the gate. I'll tell you, for all of you in the room and those of you that are new out there, I'm going to encourage you to jump into it fully. And what I mean by that is you're going to be assigned a VoIP number. Voice over IP, I think, is what it stands for, but it's actually going to be a phone number that's going to be assigned to you in VanillaSoft, and you can begin using that as your business line to take live transfers and make outbound calls inside of the system. For those of you that don't have an established like number that you're using, that's what I'm going to encourage you to use as your established number. Those of us that are veterans who maybe have an office line or some other number that we've been using, we'll kind of walk through the logistics on that. You don't have to use the internal VoIP system to be able to leverage VanillaSoft, but it probably is going to work better if you do. So anybody that can, I'm going to encourage you to do that. One thing you might want to purchase over the next 2 weeks is a headset if you don't have one. It doesn't have to be expensive. I know Justin uses one pretty regularly. Justin, you've had a lot of experience with this and done a lot of calling over the years. Is there a specific headset that you found that works well, or any thoughts on maybe what headset might work well when you're making calls through VoIP on your computer?
I use a Blue Parrot. It's a Bluetooth headset. It's just one-sided. I That's what I have right now. I prefer the kind that have two ear covers, so I can hear better. And I prefer the uh, USB or direct plug-in because The batteries, once the batteries start going, then it gets pretty annoying if your battery dies, and you'll blow through those batteries pretty quick during open enrollment. Um, so I prefer the direct connect USB headsets. It's not what I have right now, but I'll be getting one of those.
And my understanding is that they're going to make headsets that you purchase reimbursable through Lead Connect here. I don't know if that's going to be in August or September or October, but there's going to be a reimbursement where you can run it through Lead Connect and reimburse from your Lead Connect account as well for those. I talked to Fred Sumner, who his team's been piloting this in Florida, and he said the ones that they're using are not anything extravagant. Over the head, double ear microphone, and direct plug in. So no batteries or anything. And he said they're like $30 on Amazon. So
Hey,
I would,
Silas,
yeah, go ahead. Right.
I got one off Amazon. It's CALLEZ, so like calls, and it's $35 and it works with your phone and with your computer.
Sweet. Perfect.
Yep.
Well,
And it's double sided too.
double-sided. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's just something as we prep for the VanillaSoft platform. I think that's something you want to get because most of your inbound and outbound dials are going to be run through your computer if you're using that VoIP, that VoIP system. The other thing that I'm thinking about here is that I think it's going to make a heck of a lot of sense for us to start going back to and thinking through what it looks like to work internet leads or data leads, third-party internet leads. Um, we have really gotten away from that because the quality and the closing ratios were so low. They're low single digits. But when you have a platform like VanillaSoft that's going to do the work for you and do the outbound texting and emailing, you're going to be able to have workflows that will work those leads and then have one kind of bubble to the surface when they have an interest. I think a lot of us are going to jump back in on data leads or third-party internet leads that we can pull in through Lead Connect because we'll have a really robust system to work them. So just kind of want to plant that seed in your mind as well. So a lot more to come on VanillaSoft. I know there's a lot of questions. I would encourage all of you, like, jot down questions as they come up. And if we don't get them addressed in that August 18th or August 19th training, we'll get answers. They're going to have ongoing trainings then too, and literally like office hour sessions in addition to the recorded videos that they're going to push out. So we'll be able to tap in and just ask questions on one-off basis through those office hours as well. So I just want to make sure you guys are on those. You really need to be on those trainings August 18th and August 19th. So put that in your schedule. So I wanted to mention that. The only other thing I wanted to mention right now is we've had some trainings on Yext, Y-E-X-T. Yext is a platform that we use to manage each agent's online presence. And we're making a pretty significant upgrade and investment in that starting here in August. This additional investment, it's about $1 million of additional investment that we're going to make into Yext for additional capabilities. You guys all have the ability to go through the resource center and click on the Yext link and log into your Yext dashboard right now. That's kind of the first rollout is you've got this dashboard. And there's certain things that you can see on there. There's certain things you can update, certain things you can't yet update on there, which is okay. Later this month, they're going to be rolling out more and more capabilities and more ability to manipulate things. But you're going to be able to see things on there like what kind of traffic did you get to your agent marketing website? How many people click through? What keyword searches got them to your website? So you can start leveraging some of that. And then as this begins to roll out, there's going to be a lot more. You're going to be able to set up calendars for social media posts. You're going to have content that you're going to be able to post and a lot of other ways that you're going to be able to leverage Yext to manage your marketing website, your social media presence, and a variety of other things online. So I just wanted to plant that seed. A couple of people had asked questions because they said, well, I sat through one of the Yext trainings and I can't quite do what they're talking about. That's correct. Right now, when you go into the dashboard, it's kind of like view only. At some level, there's a couple of things you can change, but it's slowly rolling out throughout the course of the month here, and there will be additional trainings on that. Last thing I have before we jump into our real content today is I just want to encourage you guys to really look hard, and I'm trying to push things out as I see them, but look hard at that training calendar on the main page of the Resource Center. And I think you need to look at it every single week and say, what's important that I need to jump on? I will say the content of training that we're pushing out right now is the best we've ever had. And unfortunately, a lot of people are missing great trainings that are happening on a national basis because they're just not paying attention to that training calendar. So make sure you're looking at it. Just a quick reminder, the times that they have on that calendar are Central Time. Most of us are in Eastern Time. So if it's at noon Central, That means it's 1 p.m. our time, right? I had a few people who jumped on calls at the time that they thought it was happening. They're like, nothing was happening. Well, you got to make the translation on the time zone. So just make sure you understand that you're in Eastern, that's Central. So, we're going to be 1 hour ahead, basically. So make sure you take some time with that. All right. Do we have any questions before about VanillaSoft or Yext or anything like that before I pivot over and start talking through live transfers? I don't see anything in the chat box. Sandra's not here to help me manage this today, so. All right. Well, we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about live transfers. We've got about 45 minutes here. And we put some things together. I'll tell you, all of this started for me. We've had live transfers for a long time. But our team has not historically embraced them at the level that other teams across the country have. Part of it is we are the best in the nation when it comes to local marketing, referrals, local branding, and building our local practices. And so we are truly the best in the nation at that. But for new agents coming in, sometimes that is a slow burn, and it takes time to get some of those things rolling before you can actually start seeing tangible results from it. And so I attended a training in late May. Actually, it wasn't a training. It was a meeting in Dallas, Texas, with Dan Garrison, our president, Cliff Karthauser, who's my business coach, and a group of top sales leaders. And the whole purpose of this meeting was to figure out how can we help new agents get up and running as quickly as possible. And we brought in agents and teams that were the top builders in the country. Now, we are very good at what we do, but it's because of the local marketing aspect of things and the referrals. Some of the other teams out there are far superior to us, and it's because they're embracing live transfers at a much higher level. A live transfer is an incoming lead, right? We are closing about 2 out of 10, so about 20% closing ratio. Although I'll show you some numbers today. Sam Letcher, who's on the call with us today, he's only been working live transfers for 2 months, and he's closing at close to a 30% closing ratio over those 2 months with pretty significant volume. So I'll show you some of that in a case study type format. And thank you, Sam, for sharing that. I'm going to ask for your input on this in a little bit. But I began to realize that we're just not leveraging this resource and this tool as well as we could. I think it's important to understand to generate a live transfer for somebody to call us, there is a significant cost associated with that. It costs nationwide, not just with us, but if you go out and buy live transfers independent of health markets, you're going to pay close to $140 a lead to get that live transfer into your system, to get that phone to ring. That's all the marketing and everything behind it. That's about what it costs. What we do internally with health markets is we subsidize that down right out of the gate from about $140 a lead to $36 a lead. And then agents have the ability to purchase that lead with Lead Connect money, which part of that is their money and part of it is corporate money. And it's about a 50-50 split for most agents. So after it's all said and done, you get down to about a raw cost of about $18 a lead. Now, if you're a new agent in your first 6 months, Health Markets does a 50% rebate on that. So you're actually getting that lead for about $9 a piece. So after all the subsidies that kind of come into place, we're taking a $140 lead and getting it down to about $9 a lead to career agents. We have found that these leads are the highest closing ratio of any lead that's available. Like I said, we're closing around 20% nationwide. I just came off a TVP call where we looked at the recent data. One thing that's happened nationwide is our taken rate on these live transfers has dipped a little bit throughout the latter portion of July. The most recent data showed that we're only taking about 73% of the leads available nationwide. So 73% taken rate, we like to be in the high 80s if possible. But that means, a certain chunk of leads, 2.5 basically out of every 10 are not being taken by anyone. And what happens when we don't take a live transfer is it turns into what's called an IVR lead. And what that is agents can take those IVR leads, but you're just getting a phone number because nobody talked to them. We didn't gather any data. It's just somebody called in. Nobody took the live transfer, so we captured a phone number for you to call back. Those are decent leads to work, but not as good as if you're taking it in the moment, right? So that's kind of important to understand that. So I just encourage you all. I feel like corporately, we have a lot of leads that we're generating. One of the new things that I'm recommending for all new agents now, which is uniquely different from what we've done in the past, but I'm recommending that you get licensed and appointed with carriers in at least 5 states. And the 5 states I'm recommending right out of the gate are Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, because we're right here. That's kind of our backyard for most of us. Texas and Arizona. And the reason that we're recommending those particular states is a couple of reasons. First of all, there's a high volume of leads available in those states. Texas and Arizona are big states when it comes to just the volume of people that need help and are looking for assistance. The other thing that's nice about those 5 states is all of them are on the FFM. So they're all healthcare.gov states. They don't have their individual state exchanges. There are some states out there when it comes to health insurance, like Georgia and other states, Justin probably knows them all, but where they have their own state exchange, they don't use healthcare.gov to enroll members. And when you're working with a state exchange, it's just uniquely different. It's a different platform, different system. You've got to learn that system. So eventually you might want to expand into states that have a state exchange, but in the beginning, we want to keep you on the federal exchange because it's all kind of simplified then. The other thing I like about Texas and Arizona is that they're in different time zones than us. So for those of you that might be night owls or you want to put your kids to bed and then work some leads in the evening, like, they're a couple of hour time difference from us. So, you could be taking leads at 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, where it's actually more reasonable hour, in those time zones. And we do have agents now that are working these time zones kind of into the evenings. So those are some things to kind of think about as well. So we're trying to embrace these live transfers at a much higher level. Obviously, I'll mention too, there is a cost associated with these leads. So in the beginning, as agents are getting started, most of us as sales leaders are helping fund that lead account. I think that first 6 months, you've got to run hard on live transfers because you're getting them at the rock bottom price because of the 50% rebate. They get a lot more expensive for you after you get past that first 6 months. And so you guys have to take that into account. I've had some agents approach me and say, hey, I'd love to take a bunch of live transfers. Can I take 25 a week? And I'm like, 25 times 36, we're $900 a week. Like, what's the funding mechanism, right? That's a tough thing to do, to fund almost $1,000 a week of leads, after your first 6 months in the business. Now, eventually you're going to get to the point where you can do that because you're making sales and Health Markets is putting money into your lead account and things are flowing. But if you're not making any sales yet, or you haven't made very many sales, you don't have cash flow, and you're past your first 6 months, live transfers are a tough thing to do because it's just, unless you've got a bucket of cash to pull from, or you have a sales leader who's really, willing to support you at a high level. So I'm not saying it can't work. It's just a lot more difficult, at that later point in your career. So I've got a few things that I want to walk through because there are some definitions that maybe we haven't done a great job of outlining. For those of you in the room, you have this document in front of you. For those of you on Zoom, I will send this to you afterwards. This is something I've put together in the last 2 weeks that I just want to take some time to explain, because sometimes I think we come into this business and we don't understand how we're paid, how commissions flow, what an FYCR is. And so I kind of want to start with that, and then we'll kind of back into some case studies and some math behind live transfers. So I pulled some of this information from the Resource Center and just tried to put it in one page. But I do think it's important to understand that probably the biggest thing that we need to comprehend about our pay structure is the definitions around first year commissions, FYCs. You're going to see this across the board. So an FYC, or a first year commission, is the actual commissions paid for months 1 through 12 of an issued and enforced policy's duration. So when you get a new client on the books, that first year commission, and typically what happens is that first year commission is going to be the highest commission you're going to get. And then when you move into month 13, 14, 15, you're moving into renewal commissions, which can build to be something of great significance, but they're at a lower percentage in most situations than what that first year commission is. The first year commissions are calculated by multiplying the commissionable premium times the applicable tier's first year commission rate each time the customer pays a premium in the first 12 months. So, if you have a policy that's $100 a month in premium and you have a 30% commission on that, that means every time that consumer makes that $100 premium, you're going to get $30 in first year commission. That's kind of what that's explaining. Annualized commission based on the initial commissionable premium of an issued and enforced policy at the time of activation is kind of the core of the first year commissions. There's no adjustment to FYCs if the commissionable premium is adjusted after activation of the policy. FYC is calculated as annualized commissionable premium times the applicable first year base commission rate, and it's calculated when that policy is issued and enforced. In some cases, FYC cannot be calculated until the agency receives the first commission file from the insurance company, and then there are reversals and chargebacks that are netted out of that. So if you sell someone a policy and you get awarded those first year commissions and they cancel 3 months in, Health Markets is going to reverse that. So there is some chargeback things that happen inside of your account. You're not specifically immediately responsible for that, but you do have an account with the company where money's coming and flowing out in and out of that particular account. And I do monitor that for our entire territory. We don't have a single agent who has an issue with it, but if somebody ever ran into an issue with they were writing a bunch of business and it was all falling off in the first 30 or 60 days, that's a process problem that we would certainly address. The second piece of this then is FYCRs. So this is, FYCs are kind of an industry standard, right? Monthly premium times the commissionable rate. That's what an agent gets paid in commissions. Like that's pretty basic. Internally within Health Markets, though, we use FYCRs or first year commissions rewarded. And what this is a way that Health Markets can put a weighting on certain product lines. So the FYCRs or first year commissions rewarded are calculated as FYC times the applicable reward factor. We'll explain that in a moment. FYCR is a key measurement used in contests and annual awards. It's calculated when a policy is issued and enforced and all the appropriate data is received from the insurance company. Reversals and chargebacks are netted out of that calculation. And then you can always check out the agency compensation guidelines on the Resource Center for more information. I pulled some of this stuff from that just to simplify it for all of you. The next thing that I wanted to mention is renewal commissions. So these are the commissions that are paid for months 13 and after. So first year commissions are the first 12 months, then you move into renewal commissions. And renewal commissions are what provide that long-term revenue stream for us because we get a little piece off of everything that a client pays, maybe for the rest of their life on many products. And then last but not least, we have what's called our reward factor. And this is the weighting factor that Health Markets uses to convert first year commissions to first year commissions rewarded. And different product lines are weighted in different ways. And I broke out here just the most basic core products that we sell. So supplemental insurance, and I'm highlighting Golden Rule or GRIC. GRIC stands for Golden Rule Insurance Company. Golden Rule is our primary supplemental carrier, and they're owned by UH1, United Health One. So that's where a lot of our FYCRs come from. The big thing that happens is when you sell a accident plan, a critical illness, a cancer, a vision and dental plan, Health Markets takes those FYCs and multiplies them times 2.85. So you get almost triple weighting every time you sell a supplemental plan. And that's a big deal for new agents because a lot of your tier levels and where you're rated in the company and things are tied to FYCRs. So selling supplemental insurance not only protects your client much better than not selling it, but it also rewards you pretty heavily and allows you to climb tier levels and hit different compensation structures and things like that. Life insurance is double weighted. Short-term medical is single weighted, and ACA health insurance has zero reward factor. So when we sell an ACA policy, we get paid commissions. There are first FYCs that are generated, but it does not generate FYCRs. And there's some specific reasons for that I'd be happy to explain if you want to talk more about that, but I'm not going to focus too heavily on that today. But my point is to get FYCRs, you really have to be cross-selling. You have to be embracing a consultative approach. You have to be talking to clients about what the health insurance will do and also what it won't do and where the gaps and holes are so that you can wrap that wall of protection around your clients and fill those gaps and holes with critical illness and accident and vision and dental products and life insurance products. So hopefully that makes some sense. This is something that I feel like in the past, I may not have explained as well as I could have. And so I'm trying to put this down in writing so that you guys actually have this to kind of work your way through. So this is really for everybody, but I would say heavily geared towards new agents or agents who are struggling in the business. I want to talk a little bit about Golden Rule Insurance Company or GRIC and the FYCR calculations. And I've pulled a lot of this information from top sales leaders across the country that are doing an exceptional job of getting new agents up and running out of the gate and putting cash in their pockets. John Jacoby, many of you know that name, Daniel Smith. They're two of the top sales leaders in the country, two good friends of mine, and they are two of the best in the country when it comes to getting new agents up and running. But John Jacoby, he focuses solely on encouraging agents to find $120 a week of GRIC premium. If you can do that every single week, if you can sell $120 per week of GRIC premium, everything else will be okay. And so the question becomes, what does that look like? What does $120 a week of GRIC premium actually look like? Well, I'll tell you, one DentalWise Max 3000 plan for a single person is about $52 a month. So you're looking maybe 2.5 dental plans, maybe a dental plan and a critical illness plan. You throw a life insurance policy on there and you're there. Like, I'm just trying to give you some perspective that this is not like you don't have to sell 15 or 20 policies in a week to get there. Sometimes it's 1, 2, or 3. You sell a dental policy to a family of 4. You could easily be $120, $130 a month in premium. You'd be hitting that particular goal, right? So in the beginning, I think new agents and those of you who may be struggling in the business, if you can start focusing on how much GRIC premium can I get each week, let everything else fall to the side. Now you're going to get paid on all the other things you're doing because you're enrolling people in ACA plans, you're doing other things. Some of you might be doing Medicare at some point. You know, that has FYCRs attached to it as well. But focusing on GRIC is where the most successful new agents are really seeing, I think, their business catapult. So what I did is I broke out what are the first year commission rates for the 3 GRIC products that we sell the most of. And there's really 3 here that I highlighted: our accident product, our critical illness or critical guard product, and our DentalWise Max product. These are 3 really great products that are available through GRIC. The accident wise, if you sell that policy at the $10,000 level, it has a 23% commission on it. If you sell it at 15 or 20,000, so higher benefit levels, it goes up to 27% first year commission. Critical guard is 27% if you're selling under 25,000 and 34% if you're over 25,000. And then DentalWise Max is about a 27% first year commission. So kind of the blended average on this is about 27% first year commission for these 3 products. And I would tell you, for every health insurance policy that you sell, there's a very real and compelling argument why somebody should buy a $10,000 accident plan, a $10,000 critical illness plan, and a dental vision plan. Most of these health insurance plans that we're selling have out-of-pocket maximums or worst case scenarios of $8,000 to $10,000 in a year. So somebody's hospitalized, they're hit with a major illness, they're hospitalized due to an accident, something big happens to them, they're looking at the potential of up to $10,000 of out-of-pocket cost. Gary Boverhoff said this once, and I've echoed this comment many times. While the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, made it more affordable for people to buy insurance, it made it less affordable for them to actually use the insurance. And you think most families, if the gentleman has a heart attack and it's a $120,000 bill, and they owe $9,000 because that's the out-of-pocket maximum of their health insurance, they're still in financial trouble, coming up with $9,000 in the moment. That's where a critical illness policy can drop 10 grand in their lap or more. It can drop, an accident policy can drop 10 grand in their lap. So as you think about just getting started in the business and some of the most basic things that we should be doing, we should be talking about a $10,000 accident wise, a $10,000 critical guard, and a dental vision plan every single time that we're talking about a health insurance product. Tony Letcher says it really well. You don't have to convince people of this. You just need to show it to them and tell them what it costs and see if they want it. Ultimately, at Health Markets, this is our secret sauce. We use health insurance to get in the door. We help the client understand where the gaps and holes in that product are, and then we suggest other products to fill that gap and that hole. I really feel that as new agents, if you could get to the point where you're selling 2 supplemental or life products for every health insurance sale, you're going to be good, right? So they don't even have to buy all 3, but dental insurance is kind of a given. Most people want that, right? So that's kind of a given. And then an accident plan or a critical illness plan, that would be what we call a 200% cross sell. So for every health insurance product, you're selling 2 supplemental or life. If you could just get in the cadence of doing that, maybe get it to 300%, so you're selling 3, because we haven't even talked about having life insurance on there. I've got many clients over the years where they bought 4, 5, 6, 7 different products in addition to the base health insurance. And those clients are really, really well protected. And I'm also compensated very well for the work that I'm doing. So that's kind of the point that we want to get to. So what I did is I ran some numbers here. And I don't want to make this too confusing. I'm going to even zoom in just a little bit more. So what if you did write $120 in monthly GRIC premium per week with a 27% first year commission and the reward factor of 2.85 times for FYCRs? The other thing to understand is from a cash flow perspective, every time that you sell a GRIC product, if you're a career agent, this would be different for sub agents because it's based on your compensation structure, with your sponsoring agent. But health markets will advance if you're taking advances up to 9 months of that first year commission up front. So I kind of ran the math here. So $120 a month times 12 months, that calculates out to about $1,440 in annual volume. So monthly premium times 12 is what that is. That's what we call AV, or annual volume. That's what the client is going to pay in premium for that product or that series of products that they purchase from Golden Rule. If we take the 1,440 of AV and multiply it times the 27% first year commission, that pays you about $389 in first year commissions. So if you're selling $120 a month in a week, you're going to get about $389 in first year commissions. 389 times the 2.85 gives you about 1,100 FYCRs per week. If you take those 1,100 FYCRs times 52 weeks, that puts you a little over 57,000 FYCRs in your first 12 months. And in our world, when you get over 50,000 FYCRs, that takes you to tier 2 level production, and you get an increase in compensation as a career agent across the board on that. So I'll send this out to you guys so those of you on the call can kind of dissect this. Those of you in the room have this on paper so you can kind of begin to understand how that actually works. But that's kind of the math behind how GRIC actually, is paid out. I want to check the chat box and just see if there's any questions. I'm also happy to open it up. Are there any questions from the crowd in here? Or yeah, go ahead.
120 a week or a month?
So it's $120 in monthly premium sold in a week.
Okay.
I know that's kind of confusing, but like each week, like it's how much monthly premium did you obtain, right? Did you sell? So if you sold 2 dental policies at $50 a month in premium, that'd be 100, right? So that's kind of the measurement that we're using here that then falls out to being in a really good place. And then a lot of our agents, and those of you that were in Austin, Texas, you saw one of our top 10 agents. She started out at this, and then she's like, why couldn't I get 300 a week? And then why couldn't I get 500 a week? And then I think by the end of the year, her goal was 900 a week in GRIC premium. And she ended up as a mother of 3 working part-time as a top 10 agent in the country. And she's putting tremendous protection in place for the clients that she's serving. So it's not just we're slinging a product here that doesn't impact our clients. Like these products really impact our clients because they pay the client. They give them a lump sum cash infusion, in a catastrophic event. Any other questions? All right. I want to show you a case study. And Sam, this is you, buddy. So Sam Letcher is a sub-agent working with his father, Tony Letcher. And what we did is we actually tracked his numbers for the month of June and July. And so I have these numbers up on the screen. Hopefully you guys can see them. So June was really the first month where you really started taking live transfers at a high level. And so Sam, this is the data that you fed me. In the month of June, you took 32 live transfer leads. Like you took them. And you actually sold 11 of them, which is about a 34% closing ratio, which is pretty high compared to the rest of the world. In that month, he sold $614 of monthly GRIC premium in June. So that's about $153 a week, right? So he was over that 120 mark. And I kind of did the math on this. So 614 of monthly GRIC premium times 12 is about 7,400 in annual volume, times the 27% blended average commission rate. He made almost $2,000 in first year commissions just on the GRIC products. And then when we translated that over into FYCRs, it ended up being about 5,700 FYCRs because of the weighting factors. On top of that, in these conversations that Sam had, he also either sold or became the agent of record on 16 different heads. Now we say heads, those are people, belly buttons, like individuals, right? A family of 4 would be 4 heads. When we look at individual health insurance commissions, we're paid on a per member, per head, per month basis. Tier levels vary, but I kind of use the blended average of about $14 per head per month. And so because he became agent of record or sold 16 sold policies that equated to 16 heads. If you take 16 times $14 per head per month, that's about 2,688 in first year commissions. So, and Sam didn't do, I don't think he did, he can answer this for us, but I don't think he did a lot of other sales outside of this. He was just taking these live transfers, and these 11 sales that he made over the course of the month actually generated about 4,677 in first year commissions and about 5,670 FYCRs. So that's a really good pace to be on. 5,670 FYCRs. I mean, he's pushing close. He's pushing close to a pace of about 70,000 FYCRs in a 12-month time frame. That's a pretty good start for a new guy. Now, obviously, a lot of our veteran agents would want to do a lot more than that. But getting started from scratch, I think that was really great. And then we looked at July numbers as well. So in July, he took 48 leads instead of 32, and he sold 14 of them. So he's still at 29% closing ratio. His GRIC premium in July was actually down just a little bit. So it was 551 instead of 614, which broke out to about 138 a week of GRIC premium. So if you take the 551 times 12, you get your annual volume times 27%. It's about 1,785 in first year commissions, which equated to about 5,000 in first year commissions rewarded, FYCRs. But instead of 16 heads on the ACA, he actually sold 23 heads. So that calculated out to about 3,864 FYCs. So as I looked at this, he generated in his second month in the field in July about 5,600 in first year commissions and a little over 5,000 FYCRs. Now, the reason the FYCRs are a little bit lower is because he was heavier on the ACA this month than he was on the GRIC. So I think my math is right here. I've been working on this and I've recalculated it a couple of times. So Justin will probably look at it and tell me my math's off of it later. But Sam, I just wanted to ask you, like, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously there's a lot of people in the room here and on the call who would love to have this be their first 2 months in the field. You have the benefit of working as a sub agent under your dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously you're not a career agent, you're a sub agent. But what can you share about your experience with these live transfers? I'd love to just let you ramble a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting this when I first started taking them. I was doing data leads for the first couple of months. Didn't see a lot of success, maybe less than 1% closing rate on those. And then Justin and Zach were talking about taking live transfers, and I was interested. I asked my dad, he's like, yeah, you can take them. We weren't really expecting anything, and then I just started taking them, and then the sales just started coming, and then I don't know, I love them. I think if you're in your first 6 months and you're getting these leads at $18 per lead, you should be taking them. I mean, it's obvious. Honestly, I think July I took branded and then I also took non-branded. I see a lot more value than I used to in the third-party leads. And I think the main thing for when you're taking live transfers, is to take them at the right times. So if it's in Arizona or Texas or Indiana or Michigan, you want to be taking them in the mornings from like 8 to 10, 8 to 11 in their time zone, and then usually like anywhere after 3 till around 8-ish, I would say. But I love them. I love taking them. If you're gonna use a script, I think the one that Eric Zawicki has is pretty good. The team, what he uses, and then Justin's is also pretty good as well. And it also shows you step by step, depending on what they say and how to deal with certain objections. But yeah, no, I love them.
So obviously, as you started taking them in the beginning, you probably fumbled a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, initially when you start taking them, you don't know what they're gonna say. But I mean, you get used to it, and usually it's the same thing, it's the same issues. And mainly when you're talking to people, you just have to let them know that who you are, what you can do for them, and if they want your help or not. I mean, if they want their car, just say, my name's Sam, I'm with Health Markets, I'm an independent licensed agent. Yeah, I can help you. I can help you with that. Do you want my help? And if they're like, yes, okay, we'll have to become your agent of record. And then you explain the process to them. Yep, you're gonna have to call into the marketplace. They're gonna have to give you their consent, yada yada yada, and then I'll be able to get your card in a few days. And they're like, usually like, okay. If not, they don't want your help. Say, hey, in case you do want my help down the line, open enrollment's coming up in November. Just send them your contact info. If they're like, hey, can I mail you a card? They're like, yes. I do that. I mean, I just try and help them as much as I can. And I usually just try to make sure they have my info in case they need me in the future. But yeah.
We've done some great things with it, and I appreciate you leading from the front and being willing to share. I will say for those of you in the room here, and maybe even those of you on the call, Sam did agree to do a kind of a live transfer training session this Friday morning at his office in Mishawaka. I know Zane Smith here in the room is going to sit in on that from 9 to noon. Sam, I don't know. Actually, Derek offered his office to you if you wanted to use that, depending on how many people you have. So yeah, if you want to go sit in and listen to Sam on Friday and you're local here in Northern Indiana, you're welcome to
Swing
do
by,
that
yeah.
at noon. So
And that goes
appreciate
for any day, really. I mean, I usually take them any day. So if you have my phone number, just text me and say, "Do you want to?" If you come over to the office, you're welcome to join me any day. So
Yeah. Well, I'll be pushing that out to the team as well. So I appreciate your willingness to track this. I want to keep tracking it like this because I want to
okay,
see if these numbers can continue. I also would love to have some data like this through AEP, OEP season because things are going to ramp up. I mean, the volume of leads, just so you guys know, we spend health markets, and this is one of the reasons that you want to be affiliated with health markets. We drop between 40 and $50 million a year in national advertising and branding to generate these leads, right? That's above and beyond what, anything that we're contributing that corporate is doing. So, I know a couple 2 years ago, the last day of open enrollment, we had 15,000 live transfers hit our system. So it does get crazy because by nature, people procrastinate, right? So those last, couple of weeks or last few days of the open enrollment period is always absolutely insane. So as you guys kind of build towards the fourth quarter, many of you are going to want to leverage live transfers in addition to everything else that you're doing. I'm going to go back and talk about this because I've said this a number of times. I'm going to continue to say it. After I came out of that meeting in May with Dan Garrison and the other sales leaders, I talked about what we did to build local marketing and referrals. And then some of the other guys talked about what they did to build live transfers. And Dan Garrison, our president, said after that to me, we were talking the next day, and he's like, if we can marry up what you're doing with what they're doing, like it's like lightning in a bottle. And he sent me a quote, which just continues to resonate with me. He said, live transfers are the birch for the fire, and the local marketing and the referrals are the oak for the long burn. And I just love that analogy. I'm a fire pit guy. I'm like, sunsets, fire pits, hot tubs, boat rides. That's all like, what I love to do. So that whole idea of the, birch for the fire and then the oak for the long burn. So I think especially as you're getting started, you want to have certain times of the day that you're taking live transfers, but you also want to be building your business locally, right? You want to be out networking. You want to be engaging with small business owners. You want to be, wearing your jersey and leaving a trail and letting people around you know who you are and what you do. And so as I kind of think through this, and as we've built this out, I really think from a scheduling perspective, all of you need to break up your schedule into 2 blocks of time. The first block is your phone work. That's when you're taking live transfers. You're responding to, people that have requested information. You're calling referrals back. You're working, any other leads that you have. But that's when your live transfers are on, and that's your phone work. And maybe your phone work is, like Sam said, 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 in the morning, and then in the evening, and then maybe on the weekends, because we know that those are better times to catch people. We know how live transfer volume is higher, quality is higher during those times. And then you think about 10:30, 11 o'clock till 3 or 4 in the afternoon. That's the other side of the schedule, which is your field work. So you got phone work and you got field work. And when I think about field work, I'm thinking about this is when you're out networking. Maybe you have a local person that wants to meet with you in person or meet at a Starbucks. Like you're running those actual in-person appointments during that field work time. Maybe this is when you're walking and talking into Small Business America and letting them know who you are and dropping off information. Again, I go back to that whole analogy of wearing your jersey and leaving a trail. That's the time of the day that I think you should be doing that. So, for those of you in the room and those of you on the call, we've always promoted that you build out a schedule, and we call it your map of life. And I would encourage you, if you don't have that, go back to it and figure out what that looks like. For those of you in the room, that's going to be part of the cookbook we're going to work on this afternoon is what's your schedule look like? And I think the best way to build a schedule is you plug in your personal life first, and then you figure out, okay, what times do I have for phone time and for field time? And then build in the time blocks and then hold yourself accountable to that. One thing that I'm going to hit pretty hard with you guys in the room today, and I'm just going to reiterate for all of you, I'm a big fan of what's called the Sandler selling system. It's a system I've been trained on for 25 years. Many of our agents have gone through Sandler. If you haven't checked it out, you can Google Sandler selling system. And there's a great book called You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. It's like the core book of Sandler. You should check it out if you haven't read it. But one of the things that Sandler teaches is that there are some core fundamentals that have to be in place for somebody to be successful in sales. And these are like mastery level techniques. The first thing is you've got to have a cookbook. And a cookbook, we'll walk through what a cookbook is. It's your schedule and what are you going to do, right? It's a plan, like a definitive plan of what you're going to do. So the first thing is you got to have your cookbook. You got to have your plan. The second thing is you've got to execute your cookbook to design. That's the second thing that needs to be in place. The third thing is asking questions around, am I talking to the right people? And then the last thing is, am I saying the right things? So when you think about a hierarchy of where you need to focus, especially as a new agent, build your plan and start executing your plan. Then we'll start worrying about, okay, are you talking to the right people and are you saying the right things? So many people invert that though. They focus on, am I saying the right things? Like, what am I saying? It doesn't matter if you're not talking to anybody, right? So I really am a big believer in build your cookbook, execute your cookbook to design, then start analyzing, am I talking to the right people? And then am I saying the right things, right? And that's pure Sandler all the way through. So, all right. So for the last 10 minutes or so that we have here, I want to show you guys some scripts. For those of you that are in the room here, you actually have these scripts in your binders. It's your live transfer scripts. And I'll tell you the way that and what I've done here is I've worked with my team to build out some tools for you to use. Now, these are tools. You don't have to use them exactly as they're designed, but I will tell you the tools that I'm giving you came from Daniel Smith. And Daniel Smith has been the #1 builder in the country, getting new agents up and running for the last couple of years. And he's doing it exclusively on live transfers. So I literally just stole what he had and then tweaked it a little bit because I'm kind of anal about grammar and punctuation and things like that. He's not so anal on that stuff. And then I had Megan, my executive assistant, kind of build these out in a PDF format. So I don't know if you guys can flip to, do you have the fact finding in there somewhere? There's a fact-finding script. So this is how Daniel works his way through and teaches and trains agents. And he has 3 different documents that he uses to work his way through the process to executing a sale on a live transfer. The first thing that we have is what's called the fact-finding questions. So you think about it, this is diagnosing before you prescribe. This is getting information that you need up front. Then he has his close script, which we also have in there. This is delivering the solution. And then the last thing that we have is the client data sheet, where this is just gathering all the final pieces of information that you don't yet have to execute the application. So you think about it, the live transfer script, the fact-finding live transfer, that comes first, and then your close script, and then your client data sheet is where you're gathering all the final pieces you need to be able to execute the applications. So that's kind of the sequence here. I'm not going to read these verbatim because you guys can do this, but I just want to walk through kind of the, logically what's going on here. We have made a few adjustments and I'm going to send out, this is our most updated version. Megan actually set this up now so that you can toggle these things, some of these buttons on and off. So the first question as they're coming in, are you looking for a family or an individual? You get their very basic information, client name, date of birth and age, zip code and county, and phone number. That's very basic stuff that you need up front to be able to do anything, right? Then you move into what you do and kind of what your role is in this. I look at this as your positioning statement. It can be 30 seconds or it can be 8 minutes, depending on how you want to build it. And we'll kind of talk through that a little bit more. And then getting into, do they currently have coverage? Yes or no? If they have coverage or if they don't, we're trying to get some sort of a budget number here. So what were you paying or what have you been paying so that we have a ballpark of what that number actually is. Then we need to move into asking questions about whether or not they have a qualifying event. Did they have a loss of coverage in the last 60 days? Have they had a change in income? Have they had a change in residence? Are there household changes that have actually happened? So that we kind of work through that. Then we're getting their doctor's information, doctor name, city, and state, so we can make sure that whatever plan we put them in covers their doctor. How many times are they visiting the doctor is on here as well. And then we're asking about any major health concerns that they have. Are they taking medications? If so, we want to get the name and the dosage. I would not worry about the tier level now because you can't look up the tier level of the drugs. But when you get to the point that you're preparing solutions for them, it is nice to have a place to be able to plug those tier levels in because different plans will cover tier levels in different ways. So that's kind of just nice to have that. And then we talk through that the cost and type of health plans are based on two factors: how many people are in your household and what your projected adjusted gross income is. So we're gathering some of that information, verifying whether they're married or single. If they're married, they're filing jointly or separately. If they are married, filing separately, obviously they're not eligible for a subsidy. So that's something that we kind of have built into this. And then we're getting all of their household number or members. So name and date of birth, annual household income, email address, tobacco usage, citizenship. And then we're moving into asking some questions around how much life insurance they have, and then what's an affordable budget for you to pay monthly for insurance. So this is like the initial fact finding right on the phone. Sam, are you using something similar to this? I believe you are, but tell me if you're not.
Yeah, I have like my own lead sheet that I use, but I kind of have this memorized just in my brain. But when I was given this is pretty much exactly what I do. And I really like, I think at the end of that, or maybe it's the other one, but the 3 paragraphs at the end of this, I have it right here.
Yeah.
I love doing that because it's kind of like a mini P4L, and it kind of explains to them why this is important. But
There's some great verbiage here then from a scripting perspective. So thank you for that info. Now I'd like to explain what I'm going to do today when building you a quote. I'm going to provide you with a customized, personalized solution that'll meet your family health and financial needs. One of my goals is to make you a long-term client, not just a customer today, since your insurance needs can change often. After I determine the best solution, I'd like to meet with you on a regular basis to make sure that your coverage stays consistent with your needs as they change. And then, is this the one you were talking about here, Sam? Okay.
yeah.
So when I look at this, I want to make sure your coverage is affordable for you in 3 ways. First, I want to make sure your coverage is affordable for your everyday stuff, or at least give you a discount for services such as doctor's visits, medicines, physicals, labs, etc. This way, when you need to use the coverage for basic medical needs, it's affordable to do so. Second, I want to make sure that if something major happens to you, you're going to be protected well. By major, I mean a bad accident that you aren't expecting, a chronic diagnosis such as cancer, heart attack, or stroke you don't see coming. If something major like this were to happen, we want to protect you with products that will help with your out-of-pocket costs, medical bills, non-covered services, and even help you pay personal bills due to lost income. Third, I want to keep the monthly cost affordable while giving you the coverage that you want and need. These would be my goals today. So use something very similar to that, Sam?
Yeah, I say that pretty much verbatim, if not exactly that. Or I just do some sort of P4L over the phone, just in general. But when I saw that, I was like, I really like that. I'm gonna start using that. So, but
Well, and we're giving you suggestions here, guys. Some of you may be anal enough that you're like, I want to write this out in my words. Okay, do it. But we're just giving you a basis to kind of work off of. You got to figure out how it's going to work for you. And then we have 2 notes here at the bottom. So first one is, if you are comfortable moving into quoting and delivering a solution, then do so. And you will get there to where you can gather all this information and move into the quoting engine and deliver a solution right there in the moment, right? If you're not yet comfortable, tell the client that you need to do some work and you'd like to call them back in 30 or 60 minutes. So this is an opportunity to have a natural pause in the conversation. Say, hey, Maddie, let me go to work for you. See what I can find. Could we get back together later today in an hour, 30 minutes, tomorrow, whatever? Schedule that follow-up call where you're going to be actually making a recommendation then. Make sure they have your number and then connect with your sales leader or mentor to build out your quotes and deliver a solution. So I think about new agents getting started in the business. Like the first thing you want to do is take a live transfer, go through the script, and then stop and call your sales leader and say, what the hell do I do now? Right? Like what's next? And then we can start helping you based on the information you have, building out the quotes and understanding what you're going to do so that then when you go back, you have something intelligent to talk to them about. The other thing I'd mention here at the bottom is that if you find that your client is not eligible for a special enrollment period, so they haven't had a loss of coverage, they're just randomly trying to buy insurance in the middle of the year with no qualifying event. That's okay. You want to gather all their information that you can, and then let the client know that you're going to work on some options for them and take the case to your sales leader or mentor for input. If a client is not eligible for a special enrollment period, you might need to consider creative alternatives like short-term insurance, the Golden Rule Health Protector Guard, or a combination of supplemental benefits to bridge the client through to the next open enrollment period. So that's a lot of what we do this time of year. They don't need to be completely uncovered. They may not be eligible for comprehensive insurance at this point in the year because they don't have a qualifying event, but that doesn't mean they should be without coverage through the end of the year. And then we re-engage with them during the annual enrollment period and get them into full-blown coverage for the following calendar year. So this is kind of the first step in the process. This would be what I would call the fact finding, which is what it's defined as. Once you have completed the fact finder, you can either immediately move into this if you're comfortable with it, or if you're not comfortable with it, this would be done after that pause, that natural pause, where you're delivering the solution. And the way Daniel and his team does it is they come in with a number right out of the gate. So they told you we need to be under $500 a month, right? So when you're coming back, okay, I put some ideas together for you. Is $480 a month affordable? Well, yeah, that was within their budget. They're like, yes, perfect. Let me explain to you how your policy will work. And then he goes into, and I'm not going to read this verbatim, but he goes through an overview of how the medical coverage works. He goes into the dental wise, either $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 of annual benefit. Talks a little bit about the vision that is included in the dental wise. Talks about the accident, talks about the critical illness, and then comes back to, so I can do this all for $480 a month. Like I explained earlier, what we're going to do is try to make your coverage affordable for everyday stuff. We also want to help you with the large out-of-pocket costs. And then he goes into gathering a little bit more information and then kind of talks through what that application process is going to be like from an electronic signature standpoint. And then closes everything up, tells them about the 3 packets they're going to get in the mail once the policies are issued. You're going to get something from the insurance company, you're going to get something from the marketplace, and you're going to get something on your supplemental insurance, and kind of explains that. And then comes back and ties everything up at the end. Now, at this point, the client is saying, yes, I want to move forward. So what he then does is he moves into his client data sheet. And this is just a 1-page document that gathers some additional information that you have not yet gathered through the fact finding. You know, in the fact finding, you already got dates of birth and tobacco usage and, you know, some of that stuff, but you're going to verify all the client's contact information, making sure you have all the people that need to be insured and their social security numbers, because you do need social numbers for that. And then breaking out the income sources, like who makes money and who do we need to count into this adjusted gross income. With this information, then he can get off the phone with the client and actually go do the health insurance application and the supplemental insurance applications. And maybe there's another call that he has with the client to wrap everything up, but he's wrapping everything up. So that is the Daniel Smith process, which is working really, really effectively. And I think is a good basis for all of you to kind of start as far as how that process actually works. I want to, and I know we're running a little bit over time here, so if some of you need to jump, that's okay. I'll send out the recording of this. But I also want to pivot over because we have a gentleman on the team, Justin, and Justin has been working with us. How long's it been now, Justin?
About a year.
About a year. And when I found Justin, or he found us, he had been working in a call center type setting from his home and making, how many phone calls did you make a week before health markets?
Probably about 12 to 1,500.
So you dial the phone 12 to 1,500 times.
It was an auto dialer, so
Yeah. So it was but it was dialing numbers until somebody connected, and then you try to get on the phone and sell them something.
yeah.
So he has a deep background in call center type work, right? And he's also very, very detail oriented. And so he had taken a lot of what we had put together and he kind of built his own, which I'll also share with you. So Justin, I don't know if you use this more than I do. One of the things that Justin has done with this is he's actually built in some objections that you might come up with and what possible responses might be. He's just made this script his own, and he has direct links in here as well. So Justin, I'd love for you to take, maybe 5 minutes here and just kind of explain your script a little bit, maybe the logic behind it and kind of what you've done and why this works for you.
Yeah, so I guess right off the top, with the live transfers, a lot of the calls tend to be, customer service. People are calling in for their ID cards, or they have a question about payment. They think, they want a quick 30-second answer or solution to their problem. So if they're calling into this number, they either don't know who their agent is, they don't have their agent's contact, or they don't have an agent. So what I want to do is try to get their contact information, their date of birth, and their email address before I get into anything. That way, if it does turn out to be like a Medicaid call or a customer service call, and they don't want to do the agent record change, I at least have that email address so I can do that drip marketing. But once I gather that, then I get into asking them what's going on, how can I help you? Are you looking for individual or family coverage? If it is a Medicaid situation, like they need a new Medicaid card, or they need help with their payment for Ambetter. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see I got a link there that takes me to the agent record change. So I'll explain the agent record change, how having an agent that they can actually contact um, is beneficial for them, and how I can help them throughout the year, not just during open enrollment, and try to do that agent record change. With the other calls, if somebody is actually losing coverage, or if they actually have a need and they qualify for that special enrollment period, low income SEP, a lot of the live transfers tend to be lower income. So a lot of them do qualify for that low income SEP, which unfortunately is going away this month, I understand. Um, I go into that fact finder. I explain to them who I am, what I do, how I can help them, how I work with a lot of different carriers, and then start gathering that information as far as finding the plan, finding their tax credits. If they don't qualify for that SEP, then I pivot to those other products like the short term or the HPG plans. I had a call last week with somebody that she just wanted coverage. She didn't qualify for an SEP. She just wanted coverage for her 14-year-old daughter because her 14-year-old daughter is playing volleyball and she's required to have insurance. So I talked to her about the Allstate, because we can do a child only with Allstate short term. But then I also talked to her about the HPG plans and how we could get her, that daughter, and two other daughters on an HPG plan. So I think having an understanding of the product so that you can pivot to, those other options if they don't qualify for that SEP is important.
Totally agree. I know you actually had a conversation with one of Eric Zawicki's agents who has found success with this, and you and I both had a bit of an aha moment last night when we were talking. You had it before I did, but as you told me what you were thinking, I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. You want to share that with everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, a lot of these calls, a lot of the life transfers, if they're Medicaid or if they've got group coverage, they've Googled um, trying to find a phone number, and they're calling in. They think they're calling Blue Cross Blue Shield, or they think they're calling Ambetter, and they get us. Um, if they don't make that agent record change tonight, or if they're not ready to do something tonight, I what Dave Haas is that agent that Eric was talking about in that meeting a couple of weeks ago. I reached out to him, and he said what he's found a lot of his success is following up with these live transfers, doing regular follow-ups with them. And that was kind of that aha moment. It's like, oh man, I think a lot of us agents, we kind of with the live transfers, we kind of dump them. If they're not ready to make a decision, or if they don't qualify for the SCP or something else right now, we just kind of, okay, well, we'll drip market to them and we move on. I'm starting to do more of the follow-ups with those live transfers that I talk to. And, that's why I think it's important to sometimes it's a challenge just to get their name. They don't want to give you their name. They just want they want their question answered so they can hang up and move on. And that's why it's so important, I think, right at the beginning of the call, get that information. What's your first and last name? What's your date of birth? What's your email address? And then get into it. So when I do follow up, then I've got that basic information that I can call and talk to them. But I think following up is going to be very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think too, we're learning as we go on this. The other thing that I would go back to, for those of you that were in our territory event a couple of weeks ago, Eric Zawicki came in from Detroit and he talked about these live transfers. This doesn't have to be the core of your business, right? For some agents, this might just be an opportunity to add 15 or 20% to what you're already doing. For new agents, it's getting you in conversations with people. And that's how you're going to get good. I mean, just have some conversations. I think sometimes people are scared of it. Some agents say, I don't want to do live transfers because I want to build my business locally and organically. That's okay. You can do that, but it is a much slower burn. You've got the oak for the long burn without any without any kindling for the fire, right? So, I don't think you have to take live transfers forever if you want to. Some people love them and will do them their entire career. Others will phase away from them.
I would
Um, Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say for a new agent, I think one of the greatest benefits of these live transfers is the education you get from it. You get so many different types of calls, and it runs you through all these different scenarios that you'll quickly become an expert on, the special enrollment periods and just the going through the fact finder. You're not going to. I think starting out, you don't have that opportunity to talk to as many people as frequently to refine your skills. So I think the live transfers really gets you that education a lot quicker.
Right. And I think about that, especially for those of you in the room, the first 6 months getting started. If you can hit live transfers hard, start building your own local presence and marketing yourself locally, then you get to that 6 month mark and you got both things working together. Now you've really got something rolling. So, um, Sam or Justin, I don't know, is there anything else you guys think would be pertinent to share with this crew about live transfers and about the work you've been doing on those and the successes that you've had?
I
Whether you're
would
just
I would say at least try them. They're a little nerve-wracking at first, I will say, but I mean, after you get your first one done, your second one done, you start to get a hang of it. I really like what Justin said, that it's helped me grow a lot as an agent in the first 6 months or the past 2 months. I've learned way more than I did in the first 3 or 4 months as an agent. Just from doing this, because you don't know what you're gonna get, and you also get a lot of practice with the marketplace. I will say, if you do take a live transfer, be prepared to call the marketplace. I usually got to call the marketplace about half the time, especially if they've had a previous agent. So just be prepared for that.
I would say work when you don't want to. uh, you know, Friday nights. I think most people are taking off Friday nights, going out to dinner or hanging out with their friends. Saturdays, Sundays, even late into the evening. Those hours when there's less fewer agents on taking live transfers is a better opportunity. I had a family commitment last night till about 10. I got home at 10. Then I had some work that was keeping me busy till about midnight. I turned on my live transfers and had a few. They're coming from Arizona and Texas, but those are great states. And I had a few calls come through from Arizona and Texas up until about midnight.
That's great. And I would agree. I mean, there are people awake and looking for insurance 24 hours a day. So if you're willing to work those kind of odd hours, there's obviously opportunities in that.
Yeah, don't
So
sleep. Don't sleep. Work.
don't sleep. So I do see a few like of our top 10 agents on the call right now. So I see Letcher, I see Gary Boverhoff. Where'd McIntyre go? He was just on here. Did he jump off? Oh, there he is. I see him now. I'm just curious. You guys are obviously coming in as leaders in the organization and top producing agents. Do you have any other comments for the new agents about live transfers? I know you've been kind of in this with me, trying to figure out how we can help new agents really leverage this. But is there anything you wanted to add to the conversation today before we wrap things up?
Mac, you're first, Mac. Turn your mic on.
Fine. I don't really have anything to add. This is really cool for me to see. I know it's got to be cool for you, Tony, watching Sam do this too, but this is just a whole new approach, and I think it's exciting for the new agents. I know we've struggled getting agents off the ground, and so I like it. I think it's good, and I appreciate Sam and Justin and Tallman kicking in and just kind of setting the tone, and I think it's going to be really good for these people in our organization, and hopefully it'll get, the whole goal here obviously is to get you to the point where you're making more money, you feel more comfortable, you're rising the ranks, you're hitting your milestones, and then that's going to set a great foundation for you in the future once you flip more to the local marketing, because that's going to be your bread and butter for years to come. So nice work, Sam.
Agreed.
Well, I was happy I got to be on the call today because I had nothing scheduled, so it was pretty cool to listen. But a couple quick things. One, we never thought this was going to turn into what it turned into. The reason he was taking leads and live transfers just to train them. You know, hey, you gotta get used to talking to people, practice your P4L. So for what it turned into, I'm excited. Me and him had a good talk last night. You know, he's at that point where maybe we were at when we first started of it's starting to get fun. He's enjoying taking live transfers because he's having success. And I think that's the part of the business when you're new is when you do start having that success, it is fun. You know, he gets to come in here on a Monday and talk to Justin and Zach and Derek and his guys of, hey, what'd you guys do over the weekend? What'd you guys do on your leads the last couple of days? You know, they're all talking to each other about what they're doing and what they're not doing. So that competition, I think a little bit is kind of fun, but he's starting to have fun and I'm seeing it with him. So it makes it easier to where it's not work anymore, you know, and that's the key is, you know, when you're brand new is there's going to be some struggles, but like he said, every phone call you take, it gets easier and easier. And I'm watching it with him. I mean, he's just getting more proficient. He's getting better as I listen to him on the phone. But you got to take live transfers. Have to.
Mr. Boverhoff, wrap us up, buddy.
No, I guess I'd echo everything everyone said is that when you become successful to a degree, just keep doing it. Keep your nose down, go to work, and enjoy what you do. You know what? There are some of us that have been doing this a long time, and it's become kind of our hobby, one of our hobbies anyway. It's the one hobby that feeds the other hobbies we have, but that's a whole nother story. But no, this is kind of exciting. I know for years we kind of shunned this because this was, you know, repetitive and that kind of thing. But if you can build up, you know, a good salary from health insurance and supplemental coverage, that affords you the opportunity to do the marketing in your area. You know, when you've got a salary of, you know, $150,000, that opens up a lot of opportunities for you to then to network and build a local presence. But this can get you there quicker than the old way. So I'm kind of excited about it, intrigued about it, also a little bit, you know, tentative, nervous about it. So if you're going to be doing this, you're not alone. We're kind of doing this together initially, but it's worked all
Agreed.
over the country, and we've stole, borrowed, and stealed everybody's information over the years, and they've done the same with ours. That's the beauty of being in the health markets family.
Yep,
Oh,
I
and
appreciate that.
Tony needs to give Sam a raise, by the way.
I'm curious,
I agree.
have we tracked his, the milestones? Like, is he hitting those? Like, where is he in the actual FYCRs that have flowed through?
Because he's a sub agent, he's not actually tracked against those milestones, but he is absolutely hitting.
Oh, then I totally agree. He needs a raise. Totally. I thought he was, yeah. Tony, come on, man.
He just got his first raise.
So Tony takes credit for all of Sam's work. That's what
Correct. Yeah, he got his first raise and he just got a new pair of Jordans.
Okay.
I'm doing well. Don't worry.
That's an important incentive, Jordan.
It is.
Yes. It's become a currency unto itself. So
Especially in our office.
last thing I'll mention here is that for all of you in the room and all of you on the call, we are trying to host multiple times a week listening sessions where you can jump in with Justin. I'm hoping to pull Sam in on this, Matt Tallman. I try to send them out each week. So there's specific times that they're going to be on, and it's a Zoom, and you guys can just jump on and listen between calls. You know, there's other conversation that happens. One of the things for those of you in the room is over the next week, I'm going to ask you to jump on 4 or 5 of those sessions. We'll tell you when they're going to be. They're different times of day and stuff, but just jump on and listen so you can immerse yourself in the business and, you know, begin to get an understanding of what those conversations really look like. Keep in mind, though, on average, even Sam, who's closing at close to 30%, 7 out of 10 are not turning into a sale in the moment, right? So you gotta deal with that little bit of head trash there too, thinking everyone's a sale. It's not. You've got to farm through them to figure out who is a sale. And some are, some aren't, but as long as you're taking a good volume, you'll get where you want to go with it. So Sam, thank you. Justin had to jump. Thank you. Appreciate everybody being on today. I know we ran a little bit long, but I think this is going to be a training that I'll be pushing this out here in the next couple of days, along with all the most updated scripts, so you guys can have those, to use and hone and refine. But dive in, try to figure it out. I think this is going to be a big win for us as we move into open enrollment, annual enrollment as well. So you want to start practicing now and get really good at it, so you can capitalize on it during Q4. So, well, thank you guys all for being here. I hope there was something valuable and some nuggets you could take from this. We're going to wrap things up for today. I hope you all have a great week, and feel free to reach out if you need anything. Thanks. See y'all.